We'll never find out.
Three-pointer. Bang! Scoop layup is up. It's good. Puts it in. Oh, Steph Curry from way downtown. A 50-point Game 7. One of the greats of all time showed us once again what he's capable of doing as he chases his 5th ring.
Incredible, absolutely phenomenal. Steph Curry, first 50-point game in a Game 7 in NBA history, and does it while shooting better than 50% from the field. Maybe the most important part of that game, only 1 turnover. Before yesterday, no player had ever dropped 50 with 1 or fewer turnovers in a series-clinching win since they first started tracking individual turnovers. He is clearly one of the greatest players of all time. The question that First Take asked was, is he the greatest point guard of all time? Here's First Take, Last Take.
Fact of the matter is, Magic Johnson revolutionized the game of basketball. We can't get around that. But Steph Curry, the greatest shooter God has ever created, I think has warranted a strong discussion to be the best point guard in history because of impact. Did y'all know that Steph Curry has won more of his career playoff series than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Shaq, Kobe, Larry Bird, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Steph Curry has won 85% of his career playoff series. He is 23-4 all time in 27 playoff series. That's 85%.
Who he's been doing it against and who he's been stopping from winning championships. When we talk about LeBron James, on some people's list, he's number 1. On some people's list, he's number 2. Who's been in his way? Steph Curry. When we talk about stopping Kevin Durant when he was in Oklahoma City, who was in his way? Steph Curry. We're talking about a guy that is playing in the league with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. We're talking about guys, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. We're talking those 6 guys alone already cemented in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So when you think about that, all those guys, we're talking about 7-footers, athletic, and whatever the case may be. He is 6'2" and played below the basket. And he has been in their way since he came into the league. So when I look at Steph, I said it last year and I'm going to stand on it right now. He is the greatest point guard to ever play the game of basketball, period.
Well, ahead on SportsCenter as Curry and the Warriors move on to face LeBron and the Lakers, which under the radar warrior, are any of them under the
year? Who has the most to add to their legacy? I think it's Steph Curry for this regard. I think, look, first of all, they're both cemented, but I think LeBron James, on just about everybody's list, when you ask them to rank players historically, no one's going to have him for the most part lower than 2, right? It's 2. And a lot of people feel like no matter what he does, he's not going to catch Jordan for 1. So he's almost like locked into this place historically. Steph Curry, and Greeny, you mentioned this a lot in the last segment we did. The amount of ground that he has covered in the last couple of years, climbing that list, the rungs on the ladder, to not just look at him in a certain way or paint him a certain way as a player, but start to regard his historical greatness as a player overall and his ability to lead teams to championships. It's been completely redone over the last 2 seasons. And so he, for me, still has an opportunity to go grab some stuff, climb some more rungs on that ladder, and make it undisputed. So when the topic comes up, everybody will universally agree he's a top 10 player of all time. And maybe some people even put him, higher than that, guaranteed. So I think for me, Curry has more still to grab. And that's what's so interesting this late in his career. I think LeBron is pretty locked into where we are going to view him as time goes on, and one day, 20 years from now, when he's retired, probably even.
Monica, I'm trying to read the look on your face, and I can't decide what it is. What are you struggling with?
First of all, that's a great question, Greeny. I like Legs' case
But I actually was kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, only because I think in terms of runway and opportunity, there's still more. We've seen, right? Both of these players are terrific at plus 35 in their careers, but I think there's more runway for Steph than there is for LeBron. And so I think as we have the conversation where so many lean on the ring culture, I think I'd actually go, this stands to add a little bit more to LeBron's legacy if he can get another one. And I just think that the sunset is in the peer view on LeBron in a way that I don't think it is for Steph, as we continue to see Steph elevating his game. And not that LeBron isn't, but I just think there's more runway left for Steph.
That's fair. Let me change the question. Which of these teams would have a better chance in your mind of winning the title this year if they come out of the next 2 weeks? Which is to say, it's a reasonably self-evident question. I'm not sure why I feel the need to quantify it. Which of these two teams, in your opinion, if they beat the other, has the better chance of going on and cutting down the nets, if you will, in June?
I think it's probably still the Warriors. The things that we pointed out in the first hour and the second hour of the show in terms of slowing this Warriors offense are going to be a conundrum no matter who they play, right? I'm thinking of the teams that are left, who poses the potential best matchup, right? You almost swing the pendulum from defending the Warriors to who can outscore the Warriors potentially, and that, just based on depth in terms of what we've seen in this Western Conference so far, it looks like the Nuggets may have the depth to be able to keep up. Then you go to the East. Is it potentially a rematch of Boston? Should they be the team that comes out of the Western Conference, right? I think it's still the Warriors in terms of defending them.
Who do you think, Legs? Which of these two teams would you give the better shot of going the distance?
I'd say Golden State, because I just think they're so unique in what you have to come with to prepare to play them. And the fact that now they've survived this series, right? Now they move on each and every game. They're going to continue to find that rhythm that's so hard to stop. And they're just going to gain more and more confidence and start to believe that, hey, maybe this is another year in which we can go all the way. I think they probably even had doubts at one point this season. But you got to remember that, Peyton hasn't been back with them that long. Wiggins missed all that time. He's going to continue to get better and find his legs as this goes on. Their depth is a little bit of a concern for me, but it's the unique way in which they play that the further they advance, the more confident that they are. They've got an answer for anything you throw at them. The Lakers are a little bit more traditional in how they're going to approach their offense. The Warriors are not at all. They're a one-off in the way that they play, and that's why I'd say Golden State, to me, has a better chance to make that run.
For what it's worth, the Warriors' big Achilles heel has been their play on the road, and in this series, essentially with their backs against the wall, they won 2 road games. Game 5 and Game 7. They realistically, they needed to win both of those games, and they did it in both cases. So just very quickly, put the picks up there, Allie, if you could, or Cindy, put the picks up there for us. And let the record show, I picked the Lakers because Jay Will, who was here earlier, also is picking Golden State. And in my experience, when everyone goes one way, I go the other. So Greeny's going oppo with the Lakers. Let's see what winds up happening. Meanwhile, the other...
Your adjective, right? That's exactly what it is. And, I know after the performance, people say, well, the conversation looming around, they see the greatest point guard to ever play. And what I say is, no, don't diminish his ability like that. He's not in a box. He's one of the greatest playmakers the game of basketball has ever seen. He's a playmaker. And the space he allows himself on the floor allows operating space for his other players. But the degree of difficulty of shots he has, Jalen Rose said it last night perfectly on NBA Countdown. He was talking about a Harlem Globetrotter in 2023. The shot making around the rim, George Gervin Ice, right? Iceman.
Yeah.
You have the three-point shooting, top 2 handles in the league. The game of basketball has never seen a playmaker like Stephen Curry.
Legs, again, because we've almost gotten lulled to sleep by his ability to make threes like we've never seen before. Most of the great three-point shooters have been the great catch-and-shoot guys. Your Reggie Millers, your Ray Allens. We've already gotten used to Steph doing stuff there that we've never seen before. The finishing at the rim yesterday, Legs, almost felt like it was a new frontier. Like, even by his standards, I had never seen him that effective doing that stuff.
Yeah, look, he's sprinkled him in, obviously, many nights, right? But to do it the way that he did it all in one game, I don't think we've ever seen the full array the way that we saw yesterday. And that's saying a lot, because this is a guy that I think, for me, historically, If you go and you rank a guy, give him a score from 1 to 100 in the 3 areas of skill in the game, pass, dribble, shoot, Steph Curry is going to come out the highest, right? When you add those 3 up. This is the most skilled player in terms of the 3 offensive areas of the game that the league has ever seen in one body. And you saw all of it on display in a game they had to have to extend their season on the road. But you're right. These finger rolls that he was making, it started with the first one. When he put that first one in on a 3-point play, and the ball probably went, 15 feet in the air with contact, with that kind of touch, with one hand on the basketball, you're just watching something that people can't relate to. And then he does it 2 more times later in the game. So you're right, Greeny. As great as he's been, we thought we'd seen it all. He actually gave us something yesterday, even by his standards, that we hadn't.
It's a thing of beauty. He's playing a game unlike any I've ever seen in the 50 years I've been watching the sport, and it is a beautiful thing to watch. That said, and he said it on the court with Lisa was doing the game, when he said the next matchup is a